Hey everybody! Tonight I did a live stream last night, and I thought it went pretty well. And tonight I thought I would try it just one more time for the week. A couple improvements. Hopefully the camera quality and the audio is just as good. And there's a couple things that I wanted to go over specifically in regards to coring. Now, I have already done a video. Both Ed and I did a video on this, and we showed you, and both in my video and in Ed's video, we showed you how to do the coring process, but we never really talked about why we do the coring process. So tonight, I want to discuss the top seven, in my opinion, the top seven benefits of coring and why we do it. So to get started, and before I do start, I want to thank everybody for contributing and donating last night. That was awesome. I really do appreciate that. Tonight, if you choose to do donations, please use the link that I put in the comments. It, that way, it's a PayPal link. It comes straight to us. But you can still use the dollar sign down by the chat section as well, if that's the way you want to do it. But I would prefer that you do it via the PayPal link. It's totally up to you. Now, the the number one thing, in my opinion, as far as coring, the number one benefit of coring is going to be it allows you to have a consistent weight and balance from one cue to the other. And what I mean by that is when we build a cue, we of course use different types of wood. You know, we might use coca for a handle. We might use curly maple for a forearm, and vice versa. Well, one weighs more than the other weighs. So, if we had a coca handle with a curly maple forearm laid beside a cue that had the opposite, that had a curly maple handle with a Coca-Cola forearm, well, your balance points are going to be different. It's going to play differently. It's going to hit differently. It's going to sound differently. By coring, you are able to keep it more consistent, a more consistent hit and feel and sound. And that's very important for each cue maker, no matter what he builds or she, to have the ability to have, again, no matter what the situation is, no matter what he or she builds, to have the situation to where each one of them are going to play the same, no matter how they look. Because when you core something, in essence, what you're doing is you're putting a hole through the entire cue, okay? And then, in theory, everything that you see on the outside of that cue is really just a really big veneer, okay, that wraps around the cue. Hence the tube, the stock that you have left over. So by coring, again, just to reiterate that number one, by coring, you have the ability to keep all cues in the same balance point, uh, feedback, hit, feel. Uh, they stay consistent from one to the other. Now, the second thing is it will aid or help you in weight reduction when you're using heavier woods in your cue build. Example, say a customer wants a cue that is made out of 100% ebony, a Gabon ebony, well, and he wants it to be 19 and a half ounces. Well, obviously that's not going to happen unless you core, because the density of the ebony creates a lot of weight. Ebony is a very heavy wood, and to get a cue built, hypothetically, out of all ebony, you know, I'm talking butt cap, butt sleeve, handle, forearm, joint collar, everything, then that's going to be a freaking 26-ounce cue, and it's going to really miss what he's shooting for. So by coring, it allows you to reduce that weight. Okay, so that's another big benefit in the coring process. Uh, Another number three is it coring helps prevent, it actually virtually prevents warping if the cue is cored correctly. What I mean by coring correctly, well, when you core, the first thing you do in the video that I showed last time, when you core, you're using a gun drill and you're drilling your way through the entire length of the stock that you're going to use, and then you come back and you're putting a either Purple Heart or a maple core inside that. And there's a couple different ways you can do that. One is okay to call it cored, and then the other is in my opinion, the correct way. So each piece of wood has a grain structure. Okay, if you look at the end of it, you can see the lines in it, going down. Well, if you take the core itself and then the piece of stock that you put the hole in that you cored, and then you go to put that into the cue, you want to rotate them 90 degrees to each other and then put it in. And you're basically cross graining it. And what that does is it puts it into a position to where those two pieces are continuously fighting each other. Okay. And that helps prevent it from warping. And that's another reason that we core the cue. Actually, I have never had a cored cue warp on me, ever. Now, some of the things that you can do also, or that a benefit rather, is that when you core a cue, it saves you on materials, your wood supply, especially if you're using CNC. Like if you're doing CNC points and you're not doing traditional V groove points, then coring the cue allows you to use shorter stock. If I am doing a traditional V groove point, then my forearm would need to be, hypothetically, everybody's a little bit different, but my forearm would need to be about 15 inches long. Okay. If I am doing a CNC point instead of a V groove point, then my forearm only needs to be 12 1/4 inches long. So you can see how much more wood you're saving. And that's one of the benefits of coring. Because when you core that wood, then you still have enough. I cut all my cores at 18 inches, no matter what the length of wood is that it's going to be going into. That way, you still have that nice long tenon sticking out, and that makes up for what you would have normally turned down on the solid piece of wood that you would have had to begin with. So that's how you save your material. Now, another thing is you have more feedback with a cord cue. You have more feedback in your grip hand. Okay, so what that means is you have solid wood of the same species. Typically, in my case, it's going to be maple. So you have your maple shaft going to a maple core in the forearm, and then a maple core in the handle, and then they're all put together. So you're going to have the same vibrations, the same resonance, the same initial feedback in your hand, in your grip hand. So that helps out with that as well. Now, another thing that coring does for you is it will add strength to your punky woods and your burls, things like that. Especially when you have, say, like ambrosia, maple burl, or a rosewood burl, or an ambonia burl, really a buckeye burl. That's one of the worst. They're really holy, they're really punky, and while they may be stabilized, they can still become brittle. But by coring that, then you're putting a piece of solid, nice solid raw maple or Purple Heart inside of it. So again, as I said earlier, when you core, you're really creating a veneer, with what's left over. And no matter how weak or punky or burly the wood is, it adds a certain degree of structural integrity when you put the core in it. Now, another good thing, and this is number 7, by the way, is that it creates the option to have a mechanical A joint or not have a mechanical A joint. So you can either core the forearm and then core the core the handle and the rest of it, and then connect them together with a mechanical A joint, or you can do a full length core. And what I mean by that is you can, so all my cues are 60 inches. So that means I have a 30-inch butt. If you did a full core, you would eliminate the A joint altogether. You'd have a solid core, 30 inches long, and then everything that you drilled would just simply stack onto that. So you wouldn't have an A joint. Now that does a couple things, pluses and minuses. It gives you even more feedback because it's a solid core, but it does drastically change the balance point and the weight distribution. Um, it's going to be about it's going to be about an ounce and a half, 1.3 ounces lighter than it would have been if you used a typical stainless steel connecting rod at your A joint. Now, um, I, I don't do a full core, a true full core. I do put a mechanical A joint in there simply for the weight and the balance. But if it wasn't for that, yeah, I'd use just a solid core, 30 inches long, and I'd stack everything on it. I know people that do that with great success. They're happy with it, and they get the weights that they want. Me, I just that's just my method. I don't do that. Um, there's nothing wrong with it by any means. It's just the way that I do it. I don't do a full core. I cut all my cores 18 inches, both front and back, and then feed that through the forearm, then feed another one through the handle area, and that allows me to have a tenon left over for my butt cap, my butt sleeve, and my ring work. And then it leaves on the forearm side, it leaves me a tenon left over for the joint collar and the joint bend. And then you cut off what you don't need. And then, of course, you put your mechanical connection, which is, in my case, a steel 3-inch connecting rod screw. But ultimately, I think that coring is hands down, every cue should be cored. I don't care what kind of wood it is. You'll hear people say, well, okay, this is just curly maple. You don't need to core maple. Well, no, you don't have to core maple. Um, but for it to be the most consistent and to hit on every topic that I hit on just a few minutes ago, you might want to. Because again, when you core the wood and then you go to put your core inside the wood, when you rotate it 90 degrees and then put it in, now your grains are crossed from the core to the actual piece of wood. And that creates a certain degree of structural integrity. And so whether it be curly maple into maple, or rather maple into curly maple, you're still crossing those grains, even though it's still the same species of wood. So therefore, it makes a stronger piece of wood. It's very less apt to warp down the road. And like I said, actually, I've never had one warp, and that's been cored. Uh, let's see. The let's see. We got 12 people on here right now. Got 5 likes, but you guys aren't giving me any comments. Tell me how you're liking it so far. I can respond to that while I'm talking about this as well. But again, ultimately, or ideally, you do want to core everything. Okay, and that's my opinion. I stand firm on that. It doesn't matter if it's a funky piece of wood or a piece of burl or a dense piece of ebony. I'm going to core it no matter what. Simply because, again, of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. Now, I'm hoping that the audio is coming through okay and that everybody's hearing me fine. George says, always enjoy the conversation. just soaking it in. Hey, George, I'm glad you joined me again. I appreciate it. I don't, you just turned, I think you just tuned in, but we're talking about coring tonight and the top 7 reasons. Once this is over with, you can go and it's processed, you can go back and rewatch it from the beginning. You may be able to rewind it now. I'm not sure, but again, um, to me, the major benefit of this, since I produce so many cues a year, the major benefit to me when coring is it provides me the ability to construct the cue a little bit faster without worrying that it's going to warp. Okay, when a typically when you build a cue and it's not cored, then what you'll do is you'll take your stock, which will typically be an inch and a half by inch and a half by 18, and once you get it in, you'll take it from square, you'll turn it around, and you'll put a date on it, and you'll hang it up, and you'll let it rest and let it acclimate to the shop's environment, and then you'll let the moisture content come down to about 8 to 9%. That's where I want my moisture content to be. And then at that point, you start peeling off about 20 thousandths of an inch per pass. And then once you take off your first 20 thousandths of an inch pass, then you want to redate it and hang it up again, and then wait a little longer. And then do the same thing over and over and over again until you get it down to where you want it to be. Well, when you core your wood, if it is already dried and you core it, then you, in essence, and I've done this plenty of times, you can skip a lot of that hurry up and wait. Uh, the time that it takes in between, the months and months and months of letting the cure do what it's going to, letting the wood do what it's going to do. Now, I have tested this. I know people that do it all the time. Coring is one of the best ways to amp up your game and get more work out the door and produce cues faster while retaining the same amount of quality in the work. Basically, the hands-on labor isn't changing. It's the wait time that you're able to omit, or at least a lot of it. Now, as a rule of thumb, what I will do is, when I say what I said just now, I don't mean that you can just core it and go straight to it and then build a cue and be done with it in 2 days. You still have to let it do its thing. There's still a waiting process. It's just not as long. It's not as lengthy. When you core a cue, you want to hang it up and let it sit for about 5 days, and then pull it back down and take the 20 thousandths off. If you don't core it, then when you hang it up, you want to let it sit for about a month, possibly 2 months, before you ever take a pass on it. So you can see the time difference there. Now, I don't know why my nose is itching. Sorry about that. But again, overall, I think that every single cue should be cored. It serves a purpose. And just to run down that list one more time, number one, it gives you a consistent weight and balance. Number two, it aids in weight reduction. Number three, it helps prevent the warping of the cue. Number four, it allows for less cue stock to be used, so you save material. Number five, it aids in better feedback in the grip hand, so you get more feel of what the shaft's doing. And then number six is it aids in the strength of the and then that you're coring. And then number seven, it creates the option to have a mechanical A joint or no A joint at all. And then secretly, number eight, like I just mentioned, is it gives you the ability to produce the cue faster. And again, I can't stress enough, you do not want to be in a position to where you think that you can core the cue and they immediately turn it down, finish it, put a clear coat on it, and sell it. You can't do that. Okay, you're asking for trouble if you do that. But you can work it a lot faster. I mean, a lot faster. Given the fact that you give it time to rest and acclimate and reacclimate. But let's see, how long have we been on? 19 minutes. All right, I'm gonna try to make this in about 30 minutes. So if you guys, I'll spend the last 10 minutes or so answering questions on what I've just said. I've covered the entire topic. And once this is processed, I will put a link to that video showing how I do the physical coring. That's a how-to video. Let's see, Greg Cross. Are there any woods that require coring to be used when building a queue? Stability, hit, warping, weight, etc. when not coring? Yes, I mentioned earlier, Greg, there are very specific woods that absolutely have to be cored. And those woods would be your punky woods, like your spalted maples, your spalted tamarind, any burl, it needs to be cored, things like that. But me, I core every wood. I hope that answers your question. If it did not, please elaborate and I'll go deeper into that for you. Here again, I did finish up everything that I wanted to discuss about that. If you guys have any questions on the topic, you can ask me now while we're live, and I can answer it in real time. But here again, coring is 100% hands down the best thing since sliced bread. It really is, and that is the way to go. It makes for such a better view. It really does, and I think everybody should practice it. Once this video closes and we wrap it up and it processes, I will post a clickable link at the end of this video that shows the coring process in action, the actual how-to video of doing it. Tonight, I wanted to discuss why we do it, because it's important that you know why we do these things. Why do you have a tip? Why do you have a ferrule? What does a ferrule do? Why do we core? Well, this is one of the reasons. So here again, guys, I got about 8 more minutes. I'm going to cut it off at 30 minutes. I have about 8 more minutes. If anybody has a question or comment, please do it now so I can have something to talk about, because I'm kind of done with the topic. It wasn't a very lengthy topic, and there were certain points that I wanted to hit. So now I have a little bit of time to just kind of talk. So let's get a conversation going. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And I don't want to sit here idle, just staring at the camera, because people are going to click off. So ask me some questions in the comments. Craig Koss says, would a shaft ever be cored? Yes, a shaft would be cored, but not necessarily for the reasons you might think. They do serve the same purpose. If you cored a shaft, it would serve the same purpose as coring the handle of a cue or the butt of a cue. But typically, when a shaft is cored, it's usually cored so that it can be replaced, that the heart of it can be replaced with another type of material. Like me, for example, I build a shaft. It's one of my LD series. I build a shaft that I core out and I put carbon fiber inside of it. That would be one of the reasons that you would want to core it. And the reason that I came up with that shaft is because I believe in carbon fiber, the technology behind it, but I can't stand using a black shaft. It's just not something I'm used to looking at. So, for me to get the benefit of the carbon fiber technology and still retain the old school feel of a traditional wood shaft, I decided I'm just going to core the shaft and then put the carbon fiber inside of it. So I hope that answers your question, buddy. Kane Kelly, where do you get good wood? Well, I source my wood from many places. Hold on just a second, Gene. George, the sound that a lot of carbon shaft makes is terrible. Yes, it is, George. But if you core it, and if you core the maple and put the carbon inside the maple, then it makes that sound go away. But back to Gene, where do you get your wood? I get my wood from many different places all over the world. But here in the U.S., in the States, one of my go-to places is going to be Bell Forest Products. They have always had great material. They've never let me down, and they will tell you during checkout whether it has been dried and what the moisture content is beforehand before you buy it. So that's the number one place that I would recommend going to getting just cut stock. So come on, guys, what else we got? We still got about 5 or 6 minutes left. And for the record, I really enjoy doing these live streams. At the end of the night, like I've just wrapped it up for the day. I find it to be relaxing and enjoyable. I love the ability to converse with you guys in real time. It's one thing to create a video or to create a lecture or seminar based video to where you just watch it, but it's a whole other animal when I get to actually speak with you and reply to your comments. George, are there any woods that you don't want to work with? Yes. I'm glad you said that. There is one wood in specific that I will not, and I simply refuse to work with ever again. And while it is one of the prettiest woods I've ever seen, I won't work with it again. It's called spalted tamarind. Um, and I'm sure that this applies to all spalted woods, but in my case, it was a situation to where I was mashed up. I was in the shop. I was mashed up. I had my exhaust going, and I have a very good exhaust system, and I had everything in place the way it should be, very safe. And I was cutting some spalted tamarind points, and the next day I wake up, I can barely breathe. I'm taking half breaths, kind of thing. And come to find out, I got a lung infection from the spores of the spalted tamarind, because that's what spalted means. It means it's a fungus, kind of like a mushroom. So when you cut into that, it releases those spores into the air, and if you're not well equipped, you can inhale them. So I did, and I was well equipped with a face mask. Uh, Short of a respirator, that's the only way that I could have gotten that. I could have been safe with a respirator. But with that in mind, as pretty as that wood is, I'll never use it again because of that. That lasted about 3 months. It took me that long to get over it. So, a word to the wise, unless you're very careful, I wouldn't use spalted tamarind. But that's about the only wood that I wouldn't mess with. I hope that answers your question, George. Um, let's see, we have Chris. AAA maple is heavier than AA maple. Uh, no, not necessarily. The AAA and the AA and the A plus, A minus, the grading system really has nothing to do with the weight. Uh, the grading system on maple is how clean the wood is, whether it has sugar marks or mineral impregnations in it, things like that. Um, the maple's going to weigh about the same between each grade level. What changes the weight of the maple is how tight the grain is together. And what I mean by that is whether it has, if you look at it from the end, whether it has, 10 lines or rings or per inch, or if it has 20 or 25 rings per inch. The more rings per inch it has, the heavier the shaft will be. But the grading system has nothing to do with weight. Uh, Craig Cost, thanks for the conversation. No problem, Craig. I appreciate it. Um, like I said, last night's live stream, I thought it went great. I thought we covered a lot of ground last night. And now tomorrow night, I'm not going to do another live stream for a while. When I say a while, probably next week sometime. But I need to focus more on the next video that I'm going to be producing. But we did get a couple donations last night. No problem, buddy. I appreciate it. We did get a couple donations last night, and that was very appreciative. Tonight, I ended up putting a link for a PayPal donation versus coming down to the bottom and clicking the dollar sign and buying stickers and stuff like that. Well, while that helps as well, we don't exactly get that funding immediately. it takes us a couple of months before you ever see it because it has to cycle through the YouTube and all that good stuff. If you donate it through the PayPal link that I sent to you, that I posted just now in the beginning of the video, well, then that directly gets dispersed. But either way you want to do it, if you'd like to donate, go ahead. Very appreciated. You don't have to, it's not required. But if you want to, we'd like to see them. George says, what kind of precautions do you need to take when working with carbon fiber dust? Well, when working with George, when working with carbon fiber, you want to be masked up. You want to wear a long sleeve shirt, and you want to wear gloves, and definitely eye protection, not just not standard safety glasses. You want goggles because when you're turning that stuff, you're creating carbon dust, and that carbon dust. This is the part that they don't tell you. If you look up the MSDS sheet on carbon fiber, it is the next asbestos. So you want to be very careful when working with it. If you're going to be producing dust in the air, you want to be masked up, suited up with a goggle, not open safety glasses, and you want a very good exhaust system to suck that dust out, because that can be very hazardous to you. Not today, not tomorrow, but 5 years from now is when you're going to notice it. So just be careful when you use it. It's safe to use if you are prepared, correctly. So I actually ran over time just a little bit, but considering that we still have 11 people, 12 people, 13 people watching, I'll stay on and continue to answer questions as long as you guys are asking them. If the comment section stays a little dry, well, I don't want to sit here with my thumb up my butt, just staring at a camera. So if you guys have any questions while I'm on here tonight, please post them, and I'll answer them right now. But to the ones that just tuned in, this live stream was initially intended to be about coring and why we do it. And once this stream is over with, you can back up and watch it from the beginning. And I think you'll find it educational. At least I hope you do. And what I covered was the 7 main points or reasons that we core. At least they are the 7 in my opinion. There's more, I'm sure, but those are my 7, the top 7 reasons that I core. As far as the live streams go, some people asked me last night the frequency. Well, what I'm going to do, and I think this is a pretty good idea. Someone mentioned it last night as well. I will do a live stream. Well, actually, I'll do a video discussing the process of doing a certain thing, and then I'll do another video in a how-to form showing how that process is done, and then finally I'll end that with a live stream to discuss any questions that you may have related to that last video. And I just swallowed a bug. I think that'd be a good process and the way that it should be done. So it'd be a tri-fold thing, and you'll get the most information possible by doing it that way, because technically you'll have 3 different videos on the same topic, but with more information in each video. Again, the first video would be covering what we're going to be doing. The second video will cover how it is actually done, and with the machines, show you in real time. And then the third video will be a live stream in case you guys have any questions and need some answers that we didn't address during the videos. So Come on, guys. We got 12 people back on here when we need to get some more questions. It doesn't matter what you ask me. I'm full of useless information. Uh, I will stay on here as long as people are still watching, or at least until I hit the 45-minute mark. So if you have something to ask or something to state or a donation to give or something like that, please do so. I'm here. I'm ready to answer your questions. I don't mind answering any question you have openly and as honest as I can. Again, this is based off of my experience. George, uh, short backstory how you got into cue making. Well, George, I actually covered that in last night's live stream, but I don't mind saying it again. Let me get a swallow of my drink real quick. I got into cue building in the early 90s, and I did that because I was at a tournament. And here again, this is in the last live stream, but I don't mind sharing it again. Um, I got into cue building in the mid 90s, 93, 94, and it happened when I was at a tournament and my tip popped off, and the cue repair guy was in the middle of setting up. And I asked him if he could put the tip on for me. He said, "Yeah, sure." But he had to do it at his house. I said, "Well, all right, I don't mind. Do you care if I ride with you?" He didn't care, and I rode over. I looked at his machinery. I thought it was very interesting. I already had a machining background, plus I played pool, and I asked him if I could mess with his machines for a little while. He said, "Yeah, sure." He's a friend of mine. He didn't care, and that's where it all began. It took me a little while, and I made my first disaster, and that's what it was. It was exactly that. The points didn't line up. It was too small to age on and everything else. But that's where it all began. And here I am 30 years later, still doing it. Uh, MHF 1979. For African blackwood, use a lighter wood. Poplar will greatly reduce the weight. Uh, yes, poplar will reduce the weight, but poplar I would never use for a core. And the reason that I wouldn't use poplar for a core is because it's too porous. It's just not dense enough. In the long run, you're going to run into problems if you use poplar. I would use maple at the lightest. The Hale family, have you ever done a hickory shaft? Uh, no, I haven't. I know people that have, and they say they turned out pretty well, other than the grain structure being very porous and open. Um, but I personally have never done one. I've done them out of ash before for snooker players, but I've never done one out of hickory. No. But George, I kind of gave you the short story on how I got into cue making. If you want the long version, watch last night's live stream. it'll it'll go into more detail for you. So we're up to 14 viewers now. You guys ask me the questions, I'll give you the answers, or at least I'll try. For the ones that just tuned in, again, tonight's live stream was about coring and why we do it, and the top 7 reasons that I do it. But we already covered that we ended it about 5, 6 minutes ago. At this point, we're just talking. I'm just answering questions. If you want to see the information behind the live stream as far as why we do the coring, you'll have to wait until it processes and then go back and watch it from the beginning. The Hill family would be an acceptable core. I don't understand what you're saying. George, do I have a favorite cue that I've made? Well, not really. You know, in 30 years of cue making, and this is true, in 30 years of cue making, every cue that I build, I truly do build for me. You know, it doesn't matter who it's going to. I build them for me, and I'm always after that one cue that I can't do without. And I like them all equally. Um, I don't have any favorites. I've never had a favorite. I like all of them. But again, uh, the main reason that I build cues is because again, I'm after that one cue that I can't live without, that I gotta have. And honestly, I hope I never find it. I hope I never make it. Because if I do build that cue, I may not do this anymore. But the thing is, every cue that I do build that I do like, that I want to, well, obviously it's going to get sold. And I always say when I get done with it, and I have it, I'm done with it, and it's sitting in my lap, and I'm looking at it, and I'm loving it, and I'm appreciating it. I always think of new things I could have done to have made it even better. So therefore, I don't think I'll ever build me that perfect cue because of what I just said. Once you complete it and you look at it, you're going to always find things extra that you could have done. Oh, okay. The Haley family using hickory for a core. Uh, I don't know about that one. Um, using hickory for a core. Well, the thing the thing that would worry me, I would say no. The thing that would worry me about it is because of the grain structure and the porosity of it. Um, when you go, well, let me back up. If you can you use it for a core? Yeah, I guess you could. You could probably use anything for a core. The problems come in when you start making your connections. Uh, when you start doing tapping and threading for your joint pin. If you have a mechanical lay joint, when you tap and thread for that, how well is that particular wood going to retain the threads that you just cut? And I don't think that hickory is going to be very good for that. It's great for furniture and stuff like that, but not in the poultry world. Yeah, I would even go so far as to say that the right piece could be very attractive in a cue on the outside of the core, something visual. But I would never make hickory a structural part of the cue. That's my opinion, and that's just something that I wouldn't do. Black walnut, yes, actually, black walnut is a very excellent wood to build cues out of, especially if you're coring. I've done it before. I still do. It's a very pretty wood, especially if you can find a piece that has a little bit of texture and grain pattern in it. Um, if you core it, then it's very acceptable and it's very pretty. The Haley family, I understand. Thank you. No problem. I'm just trying. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I'm just telling you that I wouldn't do it, and I'm giving you the reasons why. You know, if you want to try it, go ahead. It may work out for you, but from what I know about the wood itself, I would say no. I wouldn't do it. But at either rate, I hope it helps. Now I've got about 2 minutes left, and then we're going to close this stream out. So what else you got, guys? And I hope that the information that I provide during these live streams are helping you. I really do. Um, it's not about the donations to the channel. We like the donations to the channel, and we encourage them. We haven't had any on this live stream, but no hints there. I'm just saying. But um, the intention is to provide the information for you that nobody else is providing, and that's what this is all about. George, do you feel like you have a signature design to your cues? No, I don't. George, every cue that I make is different. That's one of the things that I insist on. I never build the same cue twice. One time I did a series of 7, but that's the only time I've ever done it in 30 years. The whole point of me doing this is to do something that is new and fresh every single time. Now, I don't care if I have to change the ring work or flip flop some inlays or change the wrap, or it's going to be different. You know, that way I can ensure that the person that gets a cue has the only cue like it in the world. Oscar Perez, hey buddy, how's it going? I hadn't seen you in a while, or heard from you rather. Um, it says, hi Chris, glad you're doing these. Can't wait to see what's next. I appreciate it, buddy. How's the CNC machine going that I built you? The Q Demon CNC that I made for you. How's that working out? Like I said, I hadn't heard from you since we got you set up, so I'm assuming it's going okay. Oscar says the CNC is wonderful. Good deal. I'm glad to hear it. It I enjoy building that machine for you, and as most of you already know, I do offer a CNC machine dedicated to key makers only and designed for key makers. Oscar down there, he purchased one of them, and turned out we became pretty good friends. He's a great guy. I'm glad you like the machine, Oscar. I really do. Um, but if you go back, Oscar, if this is your first time visiting, if you go back to the main channel, then you'll see 30 or 40 different videos already. And we're right at 1,000 subscribers. Um, that's our short-term goal is 1,000, and we're almost there. We need less than 100 people. So if you have not subscribed, please subscribe now. Oscar says, I have been following. Good deal. I hope you've subscribed. If you haven't, please do so, Oscar. But I have gone a little over 2 minutes over this, and the viewer count is dropping a little bit. Tony Best, my first visit, was sent this on your shaft review. Very well thought out. Okay, welcome aboard, Tony. Please subscribe so you can see some more of our content. Thanks, Oscar. I appreciate that. I'm glad you subscribed. Tony, I'm glad that you're here. I hope that you find some of this stuff informative. You may have to, given the fact the time that you tuned in, you may have to back it up and watch it from the beginning. But I think it was very informative. For the past half hour or 20 minutes, we've just been sitting here chatting about nothing specific really. I've just been answering questions. But I'm about to close it out. I've already gone a good 5 minutes over what I said I would. Ryan Mallet, hey man, how are you? I'm doing pretty good. What have you been doing lately? I hope everything's working out for you. Were you there, Ryan Mallet? Were you there the night that I played Johnny Archer? I think you were. Were you on that big race that we had that night? Okay, yeah, I thought you were. I think that was your last night there. This is totally left field, everybody. I'm sorry, but I haven't spoken to Ryan in quite a while. We ended up that night playing until 5:30 in the morning, and we ended up doing a race to 25, and he ended up getting me 25 to 21, and then after that we started doing a race to threes. But it was a very eventful night. Let's just say that we were both exhausted. But I'm glad to hear from you, Ryan. I really am. I hope the machining career is working out for you okay, and all that's going well too. Tony Best, how do I see your work and what you offer? Well, Tony, that's kind of a tricky thing. I do not have a website because it would be pointless for me to have a website because I don't do production series cues. I build each cue one at a time, so there's really no point in having a website when the cue that I'm building at the time is typically sold before it's ever finished. So I would never have anything to post. Although You can go find me on my Facebook page, and you can see thousands of cues that I've made and the ones that I'm currently working on. And the way that I primarily sell my cues, Tony, is if somebody, the current cue that I'm working on, I will show it on Facebook and to locals and stuff like that as it progresses. And once it's completed, for 24 hours, I offer it for a straight sale at a certain price. If nobody purchases it within 24 hours, then it goes to a drawing situation. And I'll have so many spots at so much per spot. But that's typically how I sell my cues. I no longer take custom orders. I haven't taken a custom order in probably 3 years. But Tony, you can find me on Facebook. Okay, guys, it's been 50 minutes. It's almost an hour. So I'm going to get off of here from now. I got a couple more things I'd like to do. And again, uh, no donations tonight, and that's okay. It's not required. Um, but you can always give one if you want to after the stream is over with. Very much appreciated. And if you do give a donation, I would like you to do it via the pinned link that I gave you up top. It's PayPal. But you don't have to use that. You can use the little dollar sign down at the bottom as well. But nonetheless, I appreciate it, guys. And I'm going to get off of here for tonight. And we will see you next time. Now, the next live stream isn't going to be probably till the middle of next week sometime. I need to produce a few more how-to videos. I need to do a couple more lectures / seminar type situations. George says thanks. You're welcome, George. No problem at all. I hope I helped. And anyway, that's kind of what I have to focus on now. There's a couple more videos as far as how to and lecture and stuff like that. Then we'll come back and do another live stream. And hey guys, like I said, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Spread the word, tell your friends, and the more the merrier. MHF 1979. Good night, Chris. Good night, buddy. Good night to everybody. I hope this has helped. And again, please share, like, subscribe, donate if you want to. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks.